Right, well, as promised, let's cross straight away to the Shadow Paymaster General, Jonathan Ashworth. Jonathan, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to talk to us. I want to ask you about these plans to add VAT to private school fees, because we've been discussing it this show, and there seems to be quite a lot of contradiction in terms of how much this is going to cost, how much this is going to save the Treasury as a policy. I want to ask you, though, about the impact on vulnerable children or children with special needs. We know that a lot of these independent schools have quite a considerable cohort, a high proportion of special needs children who can't get the help that they need in the state sector. Have you thought about those children, and will those fees be exempt from this VAT hike?
Yeah, so look, we've got to make tough decisions. As you know, the public finances are shot to pieces because of decisions taken by the Conservatives. That's why so many of your viewers are paying so much more in their mortgage now, because of what the Conservatives have done to the economy. So we've got to take some tough decisions. You know, we want to levy VAT on school fees to raise £1.3 billion and put that into every state school, whether that's in Bury, Bolsover, Mansfield or Stoke. It is a tough decision, we accept that. But you've got to do things to support the vast majority of children. But on your specific point, point of special, children with different special needs, if they're on a specified plan, where you get a plan, parents know this, they get a plan, and they have to go to a private school because of the plan. No, they won't have to pay this extra VAT. Yeah,
because Julie Robinson of the Independent Schools Council, she's very concerned about this. She says that over 100,000 children receive specialist SEND support in our schools, that's special needs support, and she's saying that adding VAT on the parents' fees will disrupt education for thousands of them, and it will also have the negative impact on the state sector, because it will push all that demand onto our state sector, which in some parts of the country is already struggling with providing this kind of support. So has that been thought through, Jonathan?
Yeah. So look, if you've got a plan, which is what you get as a family if you're in those circumstances, and your plan, and you have to go to a private school as a result, then you'll be exempt. But I do come back to this central point. We all know the economy is in a state after 14 years of the Tories, that they made an absolute mess of the public finances. We do have to make some tough decisions so we can recruit more teachers for schools in Bury, in Bolton, in Bolsover and Mansfield,
it might come at the expense
where they've not got enough teachers in the state sector.
It might come at the expense of...
I know, you've got to take tough decisions though, haven't you?
Yeah, I understand that, Jonathan, but you're saying it's going to raise £1.3 billion. Now, the Independent Schools Council has said that actually 3,000 fewer students have applied to private schools because of the fear, partially because of the fear that you're going to slap VAT on the fees and they'll become unaffordable. So you don't actually know how much this is going to raise, because you don't know how many students aren't going to go to private schools.
Well, it's a figure that has been endorsed by independent specialists such as the IFS. And of course, private schools have been putting up their fees above inflation for the last 10 years, remember? So that, they've been, those schools have been doing that. But look, if you go to a school now, I went to school in Bury, state school in Bury. There are schools in Bury who haven't got enough teachers, and we've got to get teachers into those state schools. I understand it's tough, but when you
are going to give them more kids to teach, though, Jonathan. This is the difficulty, which is you're going to give them more kids to teach. Can I just talking of children, Mr. Ashworth, if that's all right? Giving 16-year-olds the vote, okay? Giving 16-year-olds the vote. They don't really pay national insurance. They don't actually serve in the military, and Labour thinks that 16-year-olds shouldn't be able to look at naughty websites online. But you do think they should vote. This isn't really about enfranchising the youth, is it? It's about loading the dice for future elections, is it not?
Why? Why is it loading the dice?
Because you will know as well as anybody else that the vast majority of 16-year-olds will probably be left-wing, and therefore if you manage to mobilise that core group of people to go out and vote, you have secured yourselves in power for generations to come, Mr. Ashworth. Come on, don't treat us like idiots. Don't treat us like idiots.
Who would you have voted for when you were 16?
I dare say I was more left-wing than I am
now. Look, I don't think it's about loading the vote. Look, 16-year-olds with, they pay tax if they get a job. If you pay tax, you should vote.
Seriously, how many 16-year-olds pay proper tax in this country?
Why are you so worked up about it?
Oh, here we go. No, I'm not worked up. I'm asking you to
GB
justify.
News.
I'm asking you to justify something. No, hang on. That could seriously shape and change forever the future of British politics. So I'm not worked up about it. I'm simply asking you to justify it. Can you?
Well, I think if people can get a job, they can start a family, get on they can go to work, they can join the army in certain circumstances, they pay tax, then they should be able to vote.
How many of them do that, though, as a percentage of the 16-year-old population?
And it's a good way to engage people in the voting system, in the political system.
It's quite a radical policy. I mean, Jonathan, I don't know what your view is on voter ID, but there was the accusation that the Conservatives were trying to fix elections by ensuring that everyone had their voter ID. I think it's fair enough to ask whether that's part of this. I mean, it seems to have come out of nowhere.
Is it that radical?
Oh, are you... Oh. Obviously, can I just ask, look, with respect, don't treat us or our viewers like idiots here. Of course, it's radical to give 16-year-olds the vote. It's a massive shift in British politics. So, yes, it is radical. I have asked you a couple of questions about the main justification for it, so taxation or joining the military. I've asked you to try to justify that on the grounds of how many of those 16-year-olds actually do those things. You don't appear to know.
Well, I've just told you what our justification is. I mean, you disagree. That's fair enough. We have a disagreement.
OK, that's fine. Should we move on? Can I ask you about tax? Because we heard from the Shadow Chancellor, Rachel Reeves, that she has absolutely no plans to raise national insurance or income tax, which will be music to the ears of many people working in this country who feel that they are under quite the burden when it comes to tax. So that is good news for many people.
Quite the burden. But they've been hammered, haven't they?
Well, hammered, yes, I would agree with that, Jonathan. But what about capital gains? Is that going to go up?
Mr. Tax Sunak. Mr. Tax Sunak.
Is capital gains going to go up? Is VAT going to go up? We know it's going to go on private fees. Is corporation tax going to go up? What about the other taxes?
Well, Rachel Reeves is our Shadow Chancellor. She's made our position clear on national insurance and income tax yesterday. That's very important for people because it's something like 25 extra tax rises people are paying under Rishi Sunak, one of the largest tax burdens since the war. People have been absolutely battered on tax under the Tories. So it's important that we've made that commitment. We will make our broader commitments on public finances, you'll see in our manifesto, and these are matters for our Shadow Chancellor.
Yeah, I'm just interested
we're on the side of working people in this country.
If Rachel Reeves is bold enough to say that we will not raise national insurance under a Labour government, we will not raise income tax, I wonder if it might be that taxes rise elsewhere. That's what a lot of the people voting will be wondering, whether they'll be hit on capital gains or whether they'll be hit on corporate tax, whether they'll be hit
Let me tell you, every proposal we put forward will be fully funded and you'll know where every penny piece is coming from. And what a contrast that it is to the Tories, who are committed to a £46 billion bombshell, which means pensioners watching GB News today are probably going to pay more tax or they're going to see the NHS cut. And they've also unveiled this half-baked, ill-thought-through suggestion of what compulsory military service for 18-year-olds and national service. It's already unravelling, with different Tory ministers saying different things. The Tory party has had more positions on this today than the Kama Sutra. And the reason for that is it's completely half-baked and it is chaotic. It is chaotic.
Jonathan, what have you got against...
Chaos is typical of the Tories, and people...
What have you got against, Jonathan? 18-year-olds delivering prescriptions to old people in the local community. Come on.
I thought you were going to say, what have I got against the Kama Sutra? Then I wondered which direction you were taking me in.
Or what position?
I'll say, indeed, this is pre-watershed. This is pre-watershed. My mum might be watching this. Anyway, listen. Now, the problem is it's completely up. The money isn't there. They're going to cut the money from places like Stoke, from Bury and Bolsover to put into this. You've had senior military figures like the ex-head of the army, Lord Dannett, saying the money isn't there. It's completely half-baked and it's unravelling already.
Well, Lord Dannett was
a career in the military is a brilliant career for young people.
We spoke to Lord Dannett and he was in some ways quite in favour of this type of thing. Yes, he did have some concerns about how it would be rolled out.
He said he needs more money. He said rolled out and how it would be funded. It's typical of the Tories.
Jonathan,
they make an announcement.
I'm sorry, but
they can't tell you where the money's coming from. They can't tell you how they're going to fund it properly.
I've read your leaders' pledges, and they seem to be funded by non-dom, cutting down on tax avoidance, and taxing school fees more. All of those are very... well, you can't be sure of how much you're going to raise from those, and different analysis suggests that they might actually end up costing us, costing the Treasury, because people change their behaviour, don't they?
No, they won't.
They won't.
They won't.
No, they won't. We think every one of those proposals is properly costed. Independent organisations have said the costings are correct, and that money will go into the NHS. It will go into schools. We've also got a plan to recruit more police and community support officers to crack down on crime. That's a clear, costed, serious plan, in contrast to a half-baked, chaotic policy which is unravelling when a different Tory minister comes on the TV and has a different set of answers. They've got more positions than the Kama Sutra.
There he is again. Good lad. Right. OK, look, just one more with you, if that's all right. West Streeting today is performing a spectacular reverse ferret when it comes to trans issues and women's rights. So you're not bigoted now if you care about same-sex spaces, etc., and all of this. However, this seems to fly in the face of a Labour policy which wants to make it easier for people over the age of 18 to change gender. So would it be unfair to say a vote for Labour is a vote for more men in women's changing rooms?
No, of course not. We've always been in favour of same-sex spaces and protecting same-sex spaces, which are in law in the Equality Act. Brought in by Labour, by the way, that Equality Act. That was us. I, for a long time, used to campaign against the Tories breaking their promise on same-sex wards in the NHS. 14 years ago, they said they were going to get rid of them. Some of the breaches of that are some of their record levels. Of course, same-sex spaces will be defended under Labour.
So under Labour, what would that mean then? If we have a higher influx of people being quotes unquote trans women, will they be allowed to go into women's changing rooms?
Look, there is same-sex spaces which will always be protected. There's obviously an issue with people who are born and their gender is different to the one that they're born with, and those people need to be treated with respect, with love, with care, and they need to be able to get the appropriate support.
The problem is it becomes difficult, doesn't it?
Everybody would agree with that.
It becomes difficult when there's a conflict between women's rights. But thank you so much, Jonathan. Thank you, Jonathan Ashworth, Shadow Paymaster General. Great to speak to you as always.
All right.
Thank you very much.